Hello, everybody.
Hey
Hello.
guys.
Hello.
Hey Heather.
Hey,
Hey Kendra.
Chandra here.
Hey, Chandra.
Who's saying that?
Hi.
Hi, everybody. It's Nicole.
I like your hat, Eddie. It's a nice hat. I need
Yeah,
that
it's
hat.
good. It's good.
What up? Like that hat. I love that hat.
Morning, morning.
That.
It's a good hat.
Talking about hats.
Wait,
Eddie, I
Jeff,
need that
It's not my
hat.
real
Where do you
hat.
live?
did I get that?
Do we have any Cure fans out there?
I recorded a Cure song.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Totally.
I just got turned on again by them because they had a song on like Netflix or one of the show I was watching, and I was like, oh, I forgot about that song, and then I started listening to them again, and
Oh, they're so great.
Which
I forget how
song?
good how
Yeah,
good they
they're
were.
good.
The song is like "Leave the Trees" or something like that, or something about trees.
Huh.
Into the trees.
Yeah, maybe. Da, 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 da,
Into the
da,
trees.
My friend plays guitar with them.
In the
He's
dark.
Rose.
da,
My friend.
Lost in the forest. All alone.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow, that's impressive.
Got it.
I love the Cure.
Yeah, they're excellent.
I forget how much I like them.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Hey, so does anybody know on the listening sessions if we can send work tapes or if they just want finished tracks?
Well, for listening, I think he's giving you his opinion, so it's probably fine. It's not like you're sending it to a music supervisor. He's just giving you feedback on the song. So maybe.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, I want to be able to send work tapes while they're still being structured so I can,
Right.
make changes.
Once it's baked. I need my.
Is he doing that today?
At 2, I think.
At 2. Okay.
But it has to be streaming. So I just sent in a recorded track, but.
Hey, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're at. How's it going? I am really under the weather right now. Just a heads up to everybody. I'm going to do the best I can to. I am excited about this call, but I also feel like a ton of crap right now, and I'm just gonna just throw that out there right up front. But I'm really glad to see all your smiling faces, and I'm ready to take any and all of your questions. Please feel free to just open office hours are open for business, and I'm ready to answer any questions you all have. So just feel free, raise your hand, or I see you there, German. If you want to unmute yourself, or here I can unmute you.
Okay. Hello.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Not bad. How you doing, man?
I'm okay.
All right. Sorry to hear you're under the weather, and thank you so much for being here, man. We really appreciate it.
Oh, of course.
This is a question that came up with when I was talking to my team. And it's a question that I also had. Last time you were talking a little bit about how before in your career you used to write songs that were what we mostly like to write, like heavy songs about sadness, dark themes, and that kind of stuff. So I guess my question would be if you can maybe tell us a little bit about maybe how that process was for you, from really switching from having an affinity to write songs about sadness and the tough times, and finding a way to write positive lyrics about happiness, and without maybe like falling into the trap of your mind telling you, oh, this is cheesy, or this is bad, or like maybe share a little bit of how that process was for you.
Sure, man. Sure. So maybe this isn't the answer that everybody wants to hear around this, but there was a certain amount of it for me where writing positive stuff was just not in my it just wasn't in where I was at the time. You know, that's the honest truth is like learning how to communicate like positive emotions without it being cheesy. It's something that I had to practice at, but I think also it was part of a result of like just my life kind of being better and like having a more positive outlook on life in general that really helped to kind of tap into that in an authentic way. Not to say that I was like, I definitely had some times when I was really young where I was very depressed and had some difficult emotions around stuff like we all do have to a certain extent, certain things that emotions that come up. But I think that my overall mindset and my overall kind of mentality was more skewed towards like stuff that was dark and like a less positive approach to life. And nowadays it couldn't be further from that, but it's just so yeah, part of it was just my own life's experience, just having a better like mindset. It's part of what I think, like for anybody who listens to Kathy for like 5 minutes, you just instantly get drawn into that positive mindset. She wasn't the first person to like kind of show me some of those types of things, but there were definitely like many teachers that I've had over the years that have helped me see the positives and be inspired on a daily basis and just like those types of things. I think it's hard to write a genuinely positive. I will say that for anybody who wants to try to write music that's upbeat and positive, I have had people that I've collaborated with a long time ago. But, you know, some of us have succeeded with this licensing stuff. Some of us have not really, but we've done really cool, other cool things. But a couple of the songs that that I remember particular that I've produced and then co-wrote with other people, you can tell when somebody doesn't believe what they're singing. And you can, so I think in order to write a positive song and to write positive lyrics, I think that part of that is just you have to actually believe what it is that you're writing about. So I challenge everybody who wants to write like positive stuff. It's about facing those things that Kathy talks about, these things that get in the way, and really just doing, just try doing. You know, I think that's like really the shortest answer for it. Sorry, it's like a long-winded answer, but
no, thank you.
And then the other thing to that is for me, it took practice because it was really awkward for me at first to write songs that were just positive. Without some type of hint of negativity kind of dropped in or some kind of hint of sadness or some type of situation. So just be on the lookout when you're writing for those types of thoughts to kind of want to drop back in and maybe even kind of drag the song down a little bit. That's something that I think it's not to say that I think we'd all be deluding ourselves if we thought that this life was just a big happy hug with sunshine and puppies and rainbows everywhere we look. And that's not what we're required to do as artists to make a living. Trust me. So it's like, it's a difference between like being able to authentically come from that place. And then the other thing that can happen sometimes too is like, if you go into it too enthusiastically without thinking about like, is it hitting like the marks in terms of like what a good song typically has, then you might be disappointed too, because you might tend to like, you know, for example, if you use cliches in your songs or something like that, a happy song that's full of cliches is full than a sad song full of cliches. If that makes any difference. I'm going to mute everybody here. Apologize. Yeah. So just once again, etiquette thing. We got a few people on the call. Please keep yourself muted unless you're called upon, and that way we won't have any distractions with stuff. But hopefully that helps, German. That's my perspective on it. Cool. I see you nod.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man.
I see you waving there. Sorry. What's your name? Nicole? Oh, okay. You were just waving to that it was, hey, Kristen, I see you there. I'm going to unmute you.
Hi there.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well, thank you. I mostly record and produce here at my house, and I'm not a trained vocalist, but I like my voice enough to want to try to keep working with it. So do you have a recommendation as to any plugins that you recommend for up-leveling, like slight variations in pitch accuracy, taking care of the waver in my voice that might occur? What do you recommend?
You mean like when you say waver, you mean like vibrato? Or is it just
like an unintentional waver? Like if I'm holding out a long note, maybe it, wavers slightly, not necessarily an intentional vibrato, but like I want to smooth it out.
Sure. Well, I mean, I don't know anybody who completely holds a pitch and it stays exactly the same. That's just part of the human voice. I mean, I'm a good singer, and I all the time I'll look in Melodyne when I'm like going to tune stuff or just like auto tune. I'm like, why isn't it just staying dead center? I thought I was perfect, but it's like, the human voice has these imperfections. It's part of what makes each human voice unique and interesting. So you definitely don't want to suck any of that out of your performances or anything like that. But a couple things that I really like to use in terms of tuning. One of them is just, well, first off, I just have to say for tracking, it's really important that you monitor yourself in the right way when you're singing, because it's going to make it a lot easier for you to hit pitches and keep them consistent. One thing that may surprise people is that when I do vocal sessions, I'm pretty good with vocal production, and it's one of my specialties as a producer, and I've been doing it for years, is people will want to hear every single thing they're singing inside the headphones. And that's actually something I don't recommend. And here's the reason why, is because there's going to be, no matter how quick your system is, there's going to be some sort of latency with that. So there's a little bit of immediacy to your own voice that is going to be potentially in the headphones, and you're going to be, your brain is really like when it's trying to hit a pitch, it's really trying to do, your muscles and your throat are trying to do something, but your brain is also scanning the music, trying to anticipate the timing of it. There's a lot of moving pieces. So one thing that I like to do to kind of like, and I do this with anybody especially where like any kind of pitch issue is happening, you just take one of your headphones halfway off. And then what ends up happening is like you get a direct connection with your ear and in your mouth, and then you can hear it a lot better. So that's one trick that I use all the time. It looks ridiculous, but I promise you, especially for like low stuff, I'll even go like this sometimes. Because then what ends up happening is part of the voice literally reflects off of my hand and back to my ear. And like I said, it looks ridiculous, but it's like, I don't think it really matters what it looks like if you get the result that you're looking for. So those are a couple of the things. Make sure you warm up, of course. I mean, I never really do warm-up exercises, but I know some people, they have to do them. And just make sure you're taking care of your voice. Like, don't drink a bunch of coffee before you hop in the booth. And then so once all that stuff's out of the way, in terms of like, I mean, I could talk about all that stuff for an hour, but we don't have the time for that. But I will say, like, as far as like programs that I use for like just tuning and stuff like that, here's the general approach that I take. Is I use a program called Melodyne for kind of rough tuning. And so what I'll do is if this is a vocal, especially if it's like a pop thing or, something where it's like, if it's a folk thing and it's like really exposed, you want to get a really good performance from the vocalist, because any kind of tuning that's like obvious, unless your style calls for something that sounds a little tuned. I've heard that before and it can sound kind of cool. But if your stuff is, in a genre where the vocal is very exposed and its tuning is not usually used, I mean, I would argue that like tuning is used in pretty much every single genre. Then, you just want to have like a light touch with it. But here's what I do. For anything that I feel like has any kind of, sometimes I'll just use auto-tune if I feel like the vocalist is pretty much in the range. If I don't hear anything that's like really off, then I'll sometimes just use auto-tune. But usually what I'll do, especially if I want to get like really in there, is I'll start with Melodyne. Melodyne gives you like a lot of control over where it does really cool things. So it can not only, it'll tune the notes, and then you can move them around and on like kind of this visual piano. It's almost like a piano. You can see where the pitches are and everything like that. It's really great. Then you slice up the audio. And that's like, there's kind of an art form to that. You'll slice up the audio so that it's like kind of like the points at which it tunes. You kind of identify those, and then you can kind of shift those around. So if the singer misses like where they're supposed to come in, you can even like adjust that in Melodyne, kind of shorten and lengthen notes a little bit, which is pretty cool. And then yeah, once you get the rough tuning done with Melodyne, then you'll go in and throw auto-tune on it. That's how they do it at like Westlake, other places that I've like big time studios. That's how they tune stuff. It's typically how I like to tune stuff as well. Sometimes you don't need that much of an approach, but it really just depends on the singer too. Sometimes I'm trying to think of something else that would be helpful to you.
And then how do you recommend, like, if ultimately you know that your vocals are going to have a pretty wet kind of reverb on it and a lot of effects, how do you manage that? Like, knowing that ultimately you would like to record dry, but then you want the effects might actually affect how you sing it. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, well, so there's if you want to sing with like auto-tune on, for example, you'd need a specific version of auto-tune that is designed to run at low latency so that you can hear how your voice is like being recorded. So for example, if it was auto-tune, if you wanted your voice to have that kind of classic auto-tune effect on it, you're really going to want to get I can't remember the name of it. I don't actually use it. I don't do a ton of stuff that has auto-tune in it. But there is a real-time auto-tune effect plugin that runs low latency. And it's not super expensive, but
Would you be able to throw a link in somewhere?
Yeah, let me see if I can find it. Let me just check real quick. Let's see. Auto-tune. I can't remember. It's like EFX or something. Auto-tune real time. It's the real-time advanced, I think is what it's called. Where is it? Yeah, it's auto-tune real time is what it's called. Yeah, it looks like it's about $300. You know, if you want to do pop music, it seems like a no-brainer to me to get a plugin like that if you want that kind of effect, which I imagine you probably would if you did a ton of that. So yeah, that's but then auto-tune also makes another version of it as well. They make a version that's not really for real-time use. It's more for the one that I use is more for like pitch correction and yeah. And as far as like effects and stuff like that, you kind of want to have like an idea. You don't have to have like your entire effects chain set up, but you know, singing a dry vocal, I think most of the time it's kind of hard to figure how to get into it as a singer if it's like totally dry and it's like a cool track that the vocal will have cool effects on. So you'd probably need to have like reverb and delay to your taste, you know, in addition to like if you wanted to like hard auto-tune or something like that, you'd probably want that too. So you'd need a system that can kind of handle that, which shouldn't be too bad. Like most of these plugins don't take a ton of the thing that's great about audio software is it usually a little less intensive than like say like video software or something like that. So, you know, unless your computer is like really, really about to kick the dust, you should be okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Hey, Chandra, I see your hand raised. Let's go ahead and unmute you. How's it going?
Hey, John, how you doing? We're all here for you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. I know probably someone's already asked this question. I saw it posted, and it's something that this is part of what I don't do. So even though I'm in studios with people with Pro Tools and whatnot, I've never gotten my stems. Okay, so I'm in the process of talking to those engineers right now that I work with personally. And here's my question, because they're asking me. You know, it can get more detailed, right? So it can be something a little more general than something more specific. So I know about drums and all of that. Maybe the hi-hats are together, but or harmonies are together, that sort of thing. But my question is it that it is the mastered version with all of the effects, right? Just like the master, isn't it? Those are the stems we're looking for, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's really no point in printing stems that don't have the master
Right.
through them
Right.
because the reason why somebody would want those is if they just want the drums, but they still have that same impact.
Got it.
So if you just had like the
I'm clear.
raw
Yeah,
drum
clear about.
like that, it's not going to sound the same. And the person who wants to use it is not going to have the same chain, and they're just not going to take the time to do that.
Right.
There's
So,
people out there that have their ducks in a row with that you don't.
okay, so then is it 16 or 24? That's the question. 16.
24-bit is 2448 is broadcast quality, so you can all take a note for that, but you can always convert. So 16-bit was the old CD format. That's CD standard. 16-bit 44.1 was the old standard for CDs. I suppose it still is, but I don't know.
Okay, so we would want to get the 24-bit, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if you can get 2448, that's great. I mean, if they give you 2444.1, that's fine. It's like because you can always up convert if you need to. And in my experience with it, the difference between 44.1 and 48 is kind of minimal.
Okay.
Just
Like a little bit of that.
Right.
Okay, and then I just have one other question here really quickly. Thank you for that, by the way. Just been wondering because I've been asked. With submitting songs, number one, are we going to be able to resubmit to Samantha? That was one question. And the other question is this. When we're submitting songs for you to hear, like in an office hours type of thing, should that be a full song or just a piece of a song so we know if we're heading in the right direction?
It'd be great if you shared songs, but if it's just, we're going to have like this expanded office hours. So it's going to be, I think we can kind of lower the bar a little bit with that. What I don't want is to hear like really raw, like work tapes where you're just singing a melody into the phone or something like that. Because there's a lot of folks who have put the time into putting fuller tracks together, and I want to make sure to get to them first. Maybe not to say we wouldn't if there was nothing else, if there was no other songs that we wanted to get feedback on or people wanted feedback on. I think we could open it up at that point to.
Okay, and then will we be able to sit, like if it was just a half of a song, not good, right? You want to hear the whole thing.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, the music supervisors aren't going to listen to your whole song either, so it's like it's just not a big deal, we should be able to get a gist for what's going on
So just a portion is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, when I do the listening sessions, I'll sometimes scan around the track so we'll see if it after I listen to it for a little bit, I might scan ahead to see if there's something cool later on that. And this is by the way, this is what soups do. This is what agencies do. They're kind of, for the most part, either that or they if they hear something that's like right off the way, not like hitting them right, they'll probably just skip. They won't go forward, but yeah.
And then Samantha will be able to resubmit songs, or will we keep the songs we already submitted?
So if you want to resubmit a song, you can just use the same link, and you can just use the same link from before. We just kept the box open, so you can drop another song in there. And
where do we find that?
I don't have the link handy off the top of my. I don't have that link handy, but I'm sure we can get it to you.
I think it came through email. I think.
So it should be, if it came through email, it's probably
okay. Great.
Yeah,
good.
We haven't closed down that box or anything like that. Yep.
And you're keeping the songs that are in there right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever we submitted is still there.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you, John.
If people submit something, I'm not gonna. There's only gonna be like 5 songs. By the way, just so everybody knows, there's gonna be like 5 songs that are played probably live during the session, but everybody's songs are gonna get thrown in a folder, and we'll be sending those to Samantha. So.
Is that tomorrow as well with the other music supervisor?
I'm not sure what the deal is with that one. Yeah, I'm not sure what the deal is with that one. So I can't speak to that yet. But
thank you so much, John.
Yeah, you're welcome. See you there, Fabio. Let me unmute you.
What's up? Hello. Check 1 2.
I hear you.
Oh, okay. Hey, John, how you doing, man?
I'm okay.
All right, feel better, man. We need you. Quick question, real quick. I know you're more on the technical side, but I just had a question that pertained to the class in general. So during the 5-day workshop, there was this thing that happened every night. It was like day 1, homework, day 2, homework, day 3, homework, day 4, homework. And I found personally for me that helped me kind of visualize what was expected of us during the course. Because I know you kind of said we don't really have to use the modules, just focus on what you guys assign. And I know a lot of people could probably resonate with this. Honestly, I can't really visually see what has been assigned, taking notes and stuff like that, and I've seen other people's posts, but I'm not quite sure what the homework is. My suggestion and kind of question mixed together is, could we get that back again? Like having something posted up, like here's the homework for today or something like that.
We did that the first, I know for each of the calls that I did, I actually posted that.
Yeah.
We're asking about in the link, like immediately under the link to the call. So, with Kathy's assignment, this last call that she did, I mean, I'd be happy to like post something to the effect of what the assignment was. I just fortunately got the chance to watch the call yesterday for the first time, but from what I gather from everybody's posts, it's like basically like, what is your, we don't need to get into this, like what the actual assignment is for this week, but it is like, we want to make sure that everybody knows exactly what the assignment is. I would say it's really important to watch the call every week because we give the assignment in.
Okay. That makes
like part of like what we feel is like way more important than some kind of like web thing that you could go in and check some boxes off in terms of like things that are that you could learn. Like what we want to do is we want to spend time with you and really like teach you these things, and then we usually give the assignments like during the call. But it's be easy for me to just whip something together and I'll make a note to that. Like if it isn't already on the posted as like a reply to the replay, I'll make sure to do it like after this call.
Okay, thanks. That makes perfect sense. Appreciate it.
And then everything that's in the web modules is like, that's like bonus.
Supplemental.
So, yep.
Okay.
Just make a note of that real quick. And thanks so much, man. Cool. Who's next? Let's see. Thanks, Fabio. I see you there, Johanna. Did I say your name correctly? Let me unmute you. Johanna Cantwell. You there? I just unmuted you. All right, we'll get back to you later. David Kessam. What's up, man? I just unmuted you.
Hey, thanks. I couple different questions. One, is this like it's like a broad question about, like you just said, you want more polished music sent in and more production, and you want to kind of give the emphasis to people who have done that work. And that there's a split that happens with that, where the people who have that kind of experience or have that kind of production, then have the leg up and are in the door. What about many of us, and I've talked to a bunch of people with this, who don't have any production experience yet, or just trying to figure out, hey, is this song idea even a good idea? Is this scratch recording that I have going, is that something that is worth taking to production? So I guess it's just kind of a question about those different levels of what we're bringing people to start.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. So one thing we want to make sure is, especially when we're focusing on the songwriting, is giving you all enough support in terms of giving you feedback on your actual songwriting. You like to hear like the stuff that's like a little more polished on the calls, but I haven't like closed the door completely to the idea of just like screening work tapes and things like that. One thing I was just thinking, it's like if it's just like a vocal idea that's sung into a phone, it's like a couple lines, I think that it's going to be harder. I mean, it could be like a really quick give it a listen, and so one thing too, it's like, if we do end up like just screening work tapes and things like that, it might actually those might be faster than some of the other ones. But I have an open mind in terms of that. I want to make sure that everybody feels really supported throughout the process in terms of, when guys are coming to coming to fruition, and how best to give everybody feedback on songs when they're writing stuff versus like the production of stuff. The listening hours have typically been for like full on productions, but we're going to be doing like an hour and a half of listening today. So I think like in the past, the what has happened is we've had time to typically listen to like 3 or 4 songs at the end of office hours. So what Kathy and I were thinking was if we had an entire hour and a half to just listen to music and give feedback, then, you know, we'd get through a ton more of it. And we probably will have time to just listen to work tapes. And we probably, you know, I'm not opposed to listening to a work tape, you know. I don't really, I'm not opposed to it. I just, one thing is like, it's just like I said, I think there's a certain amount of effort. There's a difference between like singing something into a phone kind of like work tape versus like, you know, arranging it a little bit, like having an instrument, spending a little bit of time, just making sure that the audio level is like relatively good. Just even if it's just using your phone recorder. So I think like that's what I'm talking about. And then just like time and attention to like the arrangement of the song, make sure that it's like, you know, you do the best job that you can presenting it when you bring it. I think it's not a bad thing, but
yeah, it feels tricky to me because there's, of course, with this 300 people or whatever, there's a wide range of people going from, you know, square one to people who are at square 298, and you know, how to get the most out of it for everybody seems like an incredibly daunting task on your side. But I'm also, yeah, it's just something I wonder. It's like maybe even there are specific sessions that are for works in progress, and then there's specific sessions for, hey, this is almost ready to go out the door, that one final tweak if you give me feedback.
Yeah, I think when we're in the in kind of like more the songwriter, we do have like a few weeks where we're going to be focusing more on songwriting as like the sole focus of what's going on. So maybe it would be more appropriate to discuss, you know, work tapes, and I think the Facebook group is a really good resource for that. You can tag me and I'll chime in. You know, just keep in mind that like everything that we listen to on this call that we're doing at 2:00, it's not like the only things that we do in terms of like helping give feedback on things. So don't use the Facebook group too as we go forward. And I think like when we dig more into songwriting, I think it'll be helpful to maybe have like more focus on that. Maybe, who knows, do a call where we just doing work tapes, you know.
Okay.
If we find that we're not getting enough time during the listening session for the people who are in the shoes that you're talking about feel supported enough. Does that make sense?
Yep, definitely. And I've got one other question related to the happy songs that we were talking about before. It seems like the emphasis so far anyway is on the commercial side of things, which the more upbeat, faster tempo, car commercial, McDonald's, Starbucks, whatever. What about the whole range of where there is the deeper emotional range of movie soundtracks and things like that? Is it just a smaller market, so we're not heading that direction, or?
No, it's not. That's not like our intention to say everybody needs to make cheery, happy ad music. That's not what we're talking about at all. Catch the Moon probably lands more ad stuff than anything else, but we also land a fair amount of stuff with like TV, film, darker kind of sounding stuff, darker hip hop. You know, it's like all over the place in terms of the stuff that we do. And there's lots of opportunities out there that fall outside of the ad world. So. And we definitely will be covering that. I mean, I think you'll see through like the Monday music breakdowns I do, which I'm going to post one of those up today. Sorry, it's been a heck of a week getting caught up with everything, but I'm gonna post that. But yeah, don't worry about that. We're definitely like the Ruels, like that type of stuff is definitely there's huge, and that's just like one example of like hundreds of different directions you could take in terms of, or even stuff that's not like cheery necessarily, but like explosions in the sky, kind of dark, kind of like slightly hopeful, ethereal kind of stuff that gets used in car ads a lot, but also just like film and TV, kind of more like background. We don't cover composing. That's one thing that we don't do, because composing is like a little bit of a different game. You're talking about like film, like that's basically like the relationship between the director and the composer creating a vision for the project. And that's really out of the purvey of what we do here. But But in terms of like darker trailer stuff, you know, just music that's used, there's certainly like sad music that's used in ads sometimes. So yeah, we're going to be covering all different kinds of music, and you are not like forced to create a certain type of music. But what I would suggest is that it's probably going to be in your best interest to do your research and find references that are kind of in the ballpark of stuff that's like just marketable now, in terms of like, you know, if it's like a more somber angle on things. That's just my thoughts on it.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, of course. All right. Let's see. Don, I see your hand raised. Let me unmute you. You there? Don. That's okay. I'll get back to you. All right. So we'll lower your hand. Mark Stone.
Just have to unmute myself. Oh, there I am.
There we go.
Now I'm unmuted. Yay! I just sorry about that. Hey, more of that tea, right? Oh, there's the magic elixir right there as we speak. Okay, so I just
everybody.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, hey, sorry you're under the weather. Get well soon. And I'm sorry I screwed. I'm the first one who posted the assignment answer, and I was trying to like take an overview of it, so I copied the whole theme thing, right? So I'm apologizing publicly. Don't do it like I did it. Paste that somewhere else, and then grab your 3 choices of each thing rather than the 25 listed. Don't do like Mark Stone does. That's all.
It's all good, man. Thanks for checking in, man. Let's lower your hand here. Drew, I see you. I'm going to unmute you. Weird.
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Good. All is well. Since we're kind of on this whole like production topic right now, I thought it would be a good question that once this course is completed and we don't have kind of that safety net of like sending in our music and be like, what do you think? Listen to this. What do you think? How do you pull yourself away from objectively knowing that the production is good versus you writing it, performing on it, and you're like, okay, this is ready. It sounds good. Are there any other strategies that you use, like say playing your song versus the reference track that you used for the production wise? Like, how can we get an objective opinion on that, in your opinion?
Sure, man. Sure.
Thoughts?
You know, you for sure. We're gonna give you a lot of support around that, of course, during the course. But when you no longer are a part of Catch the Moon, I would suggest getting folks that you trust as part of your team. That's definitely a part of like, I have like probably a dozen people at any point that I could send a track to if I have any questions about like, and I might send the track to a different person depending upon like what it is that I'm like I have a couple good friends that are mixers, and if I'm kind of questioning some mix decision that I made, I'll send the track over to them and say, hey, does anything stick out for you here? And they'll give you some feedback. So it's like, it's really important to know where your feedback's coming from, I guess, is like probably the most important thing when it comes to feedback. So over the course of these next few months, it'd be really, really good to start building relationships with some folks that you trust, not only like at your level, but also like, it's like Dave Pensato says, you want to work with like the most talented people in your neighborhood. So it's like,
right,
you always want to be kind of aspiring who are some people that are like further ahead in the game that I could potentially work with and learn from and build relationships with. So I think some of the bouncing back and forth that I do is just done through like the network that I built, and that took a little time. But I had it pretty quick. I had it pretty early on, and it started like for me, you know, in terms of like the ad stuff, it's literally started with just being in the class that I was taking at the time. And the people that I was like, the producers that I was working with, and as I was learning to produce, it's that's what I found to be helpful. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's it. I appreciate the help. Thanks.
Absolutely, man. I see you there, Christina.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Sorry you're not feeling well today.
Thanks. I'm here.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I had two questions. You probably answered them already, and I'm sorry if this is a repeat. But the first is, how do you want us to submit songs to the office hours? Do you want us just to post a link in the chat? What's the most efficient way to do that?
I think next week we've talked about like just internally how the best way to handle this is, and we're probably gonna put some type of a form together that people can just like drop a song link in, and then we'll just go through it like just first in, first out. But for this week, I think it's literally gonna be I'm just gonna start grabbing stuff out of the chat. So it's gonna give people plenty of opportunities to get music heard. We're going to be going for like an hour and a half. As long as I don't start like throwing up or something like that. I don't think it's going to be that bad. But my talking might not be too good by the end of that first hour and into that. But I should probably be conserving my voice a little more. But yeah, so we're gonna. That's the answer is that we're probably gonna have some type of a form that it's very similar to the type of submission form that we'll give when we're asking for types of music that we want to potentially add to the catalog or just different opportunities.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And then I had just one more question. I think it was Chandra. She asked about like the stems. But what kind of stems, we talked about that, but like what different instruments are good to have in the stems? Like this is a stem of this and this is a stem of this, like what's good to have?
Yeah, I'm going to just talk about stems in general because here's the thing, like stems, you could drive yourself crazy trying to because you could literally have 30 different mixes. 30 different mixes. You could have like every single instrument stemmed out. The only time that really plays into things is like major label artist releases. They typically want to have that kind of stuff. And it's understandable because the amount of money that they're pouring into the projects, it's like we want to make sure we cover every and all possibility of uses. For somebody who's like independent and just getting into these things, I promise you that there are going to be things that are more worth your time than burning like 30 different kinds of mixes. But I will say this, just in general, like when I print stems for like an artist project or something like this, I'll run them through the master chain, and I'll typically part them down to groups. I'll typically put the drums on a group. I'll typically put the bass and bass instruments like on a group. I'll typically put any type of if there's guitars, like if there's a bunch of electric guitars, I'll typically just put them all in the same group, unless there's like a lead guitar that's like really above and beyond like everything else. I sometimes will even just cook that in, but vocals, I'll do like a lead vocal. I'll do backup vocals. So I'll just do two different vocal things, one with the leads and one with the lead and any lead stacks, and then background stuff. And then what else am I for? Oh, percussion. I'll sometimes have a percussion mix group. And if you mix your stuff correctly, it's actually the whole process is actually pretty quick. If you bus everything out, you have different mix groups for everything. It's actually it's a lot faster than you think. But it is, if you have like analog hardware, like I do on some projects, you sometimes just have to sit there for a couple hours while you print everything out, because you can't just like do it, have the computer crunch it, because it can't crunch the analog hardware. You think anything else with so and any synths, I'll sometimes have like synths or keys or things like that. I'll have those on their own mix group. It's just like you don't have to part everything out precisely. And then as far as like mixes, this is like just your standard mixes that are needed typically are like just with vocals, instrumental, a cappella, and TV mix, which TV mix is like it's the mix without the lead vocal. So with the backup vocals, it's also called like a performance track. Some artists will literally take, I did this for an artist like recently, and she literally takes her tracks and she takes TV track versions of her songs, and when she performs live, she's kind of a rapper. She'll go and she'll just basically play the song, and she'll be able to sing to it. So yeah, So that's kind of the typically what a TV track is used for, but there's also moments where like a soup might not want the lead vocal in, but they want kind of the background stuff. So those are the main mixes. And then stems, I would just advise not to drive yourself crazy. Get all the things covered, and then just have a good relationship with your producer, because most producers that are in the game, in the sync game, they know that they're always going to be looking for some type of like customized mix on something potentially that you could never anticipate. So, you know, you might think you have all your bases covered, but then they don't like one little percussion instrument out of like the 10 that you have on your track. And, you know, having 30 stems and having all your stems like there won't really help you so much unless you have like every single percussion instrument stemmed out. Sounds like overkill to me. But,
yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Feel better.
Thank you. I'm working on it. Thanks for all the tips, by the way. Part of me feels really cheesy posting stuff on Instagram about like, you know, home remedies and everything like that, but it's kind of fun, like just getting everybody's takes on things. Like some of the things that I do when I'm sick, it seems like it's kind of in the toolkit of everybody else too. But I appreciate all the suggestions from people in this in the Catch the Moon family too. All right, so Lori, I see you, Lori Geltman.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm okay.
Well, I know. Okay, I don't want to get too wonky, the question, but I have to give you a little backstory. Ultimately, it's a question about metadata, and there's going to be some legal implications, which I know you can't answer, so don't worry about that. I recorded an EP. The drums were actually all done at Death Star some years ago. Okay. And I put it out under a band project name, Lane, L-A-Y-N-E. And then I formed a band under that name, and we played out. I did everything right. I did the ISRCs, I did Grace Note, I had everything done, and it's distributed by CD Baby all over the world. And I had a hard copy CD EP. Then some years went by. I was sick, not going to get into it, but I was really sick and I wasn't really paying attention much. And another band came to LA named Lane. I happen to really think they're cool. They're like a really good pop synth band, and they're out touring. And I have a website. I had a MySpace back then. I have emails with Lane. I obviously had legally I was there first, but I didn't want to start anything. However, now when I'm doing my metadata and it says artist, I would love to just put my name, and I'm the composer, but I'd like to put my name, but I can't, because if someone was to check it, or I think you'd know where this question is going. I'm feeling like some of my best, punchiest mix songs are on this EP. Do I need to re-release it with like a new, I did all the work to have it like that, but the good news is that if it ever was taken, it would be a credit, but it would say Lane and not my name. And then there's this other band so I'm confused about what to do now on my metadata mainly.
Well, I think if it's been released under Lane, it's trademark is tricky, because there's like, just because you come up with a name first doesn't necessarily mean that you own the trademark to something. It's one of those things. I'm not a lawyer, but what I do know of these things is if like, if somebody has a band name and they don't have wild success with it, and then another band comes along and they have the same name and they're like huge and they've got big hits and things like that, they might have more of a claim to that kind of thing than somebody who might have had the initial concept, but
it was more sorry, go ahead.
No, but the trademark wasn't necessarily like people don't necessarily affiliate that name with like your music, for example. They've more
right.
Like the other band. So, there's nothing wrong with, in the end, your metadata, chances are the music supervisor is not going to have heard your version of it before, and they're not going to have heard of your version of Lane. If anything, it might be confusing to them because they might already know the band. I don't know who Lane is, but it sounds...
Well, they actually have placements. That's why I bring it up. Sorry.
I would actually, like, in that case, I would suggest like coming up with another fake band name, or just coming up with another artist name or you could just release it as your own stuff, because like it could potentially be confusing to some music supervisors.
So that's where my question is. This is actually where the question is. I appreciate all that. That's the background. I mean, I'm still getting royalties on the record. It's not like no one's heard of it, but the point is that just to say, just release it under a different name, I would go by my name. I have 3 records, and I did have a career under my name, and I kind of regret that I changed it. I kind of did this because when I moved to LA, I wanted to just start fresh. Okay. And just have it be, not have like Laurie Geltman. I didn't know what that connotation was, but I didn't think it might be a good one. So I made the mistake, I think, of going away from this, building a 20-year career. But now if I was to re-release it, which is time consuming, I mean, it's packaged, it was artwork, it's done, it's been done for years. I'm just talking specifically for licensing. If I do the metadata and I put artist Laurie Geltman, songwriter Laurie Geltman, I need to do something so that if people were to, look for it, it would come out under my, like, what do I do physically? I mean, literally, what do I do?
I don't think that anybody, if you say in your metadata that the artist is Laurie Geltman, I don't think any music supervisor is going to go out and try to verify that it's Laurie Geltman versus Lane. So I don't think it really.
Yeah, I know, not verify. I mean, like, it'd be hard to, like, for someone to, like, when you go to a YouTube thing, there's always people, hey, I'm here because of Dawson Creek, or I'm here because of whatever show. So they wouldn't go to, like, if they went there to my name, they wouldn't find it. So I kind of feel like I have to stick with Lane, but there is another band doing really well and doing placements with that name.
They
doesn't make any sense.
I'm just confused. So if this is an EP that you're going to be pitching around to music supervisors, you just want to make sure that they understand who it is that owns the music. If that's the case, then you would just put your name and you know what I'm saying? It's like, what I'm saying is that I don't think that the music supervisor is going to be worried too much about the actual release status of your version of the song. I think they're going to be more concerned with, like, is this music something that I want to use? And if the answer is yes, then who do I get in touch with, and who's the rights holder? You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be that. I don't think it's going to be that.
I mean, it's been registered with BMI for 12 years. I mean, it's registered. It's out there. They could find it that in the normal way. I'm not. Look, that would be the best thing that could happen, right? So, all right. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
It sounds like a complicated situation. You know.
Can I make a quick suggestion?
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting, my bad, but just a quick suggestion. I mean, you can just release a new album under your new name as an artist and just call it The Best Of or whatever. Just call the album whatever and include those songs in there. It could be a separate release. Your old release in CD Baby is going to stay like that, and you just actually use the new release under the new name like that. You're not going to sue yourself for using your own songs. So just re-release the EP under a different name, same songs, and just
package it. Repackage it. That's a good idea. Thank you.
Cool. All right, Bev, I see you. I see you there. I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you.
Oh, hi, John.
Hey, how's it going?
Not bad. How are you? I'm trying to get my video. There we go. Sorry to hear you're under the weather. I'm getting one too, but I'm loading up on zinc. That's what I'm trying to do. So who knows? Yeah. Oh, listen, just 2 quick questions. If someone is asking for an instrumental cue, can you just send it an instrumental?
Yeah. If the edit point has, the problem is sometimes the instrumental cues, they might be looking for like a 15 or a 30 or like some type of specific cut. If they're not looking for a specific cut down, there's no reason why it couldn't work. Okay. You got to make sure that like the beat is kind of, when I say the beat of the music kind of falls into the purvey of like what they would use. So yeah, why it couldn't potentially work. An instrumental cue of some kind, but obviously like some instrumental cues are pretty short. So you have a little information on like what exactly they're looking to do with it. And if they need sharp edit points, you know, sometimes with instrumental cues, it builds up for a little bit and then it kind of like has a really like definite edit point that makes it really easy. for the editor versus like the songs might not have that. They might have a couple breaks. I mean, I think anybody who's making music for sync should be thinking about this stuff all the time in terms of like just making sure that you have plenty of places for the editor to make clean edits. But
oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. Just another quick question. When I'm pitching as usual. So if a company like Zinc says they don't accept unsolicited material, should you be kind of pushy and try to find out an email, or probably not, right?
So any company that publicly lists that they don't accept unsolicited submissions, it's going to be the case where if you just keep insisting and finding email addresses and things like that, it might actually kind of
yeah.
So you just got to be kind of careful with it. With things like that, that's where you want like some kind of personal in, you know?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't have one, but I can work on that.
Some agencies, it helps to have like whether it's a friend who's already on an agency, or if it's who can make an introduction to somebody, or a producer who has done work that's part of their library. So it's not impossible to get your foot in the door. You just have to start shaking some hands and just finding what are some potential ends. Yeah.
Thanks, John, because I was just going to give up on them, but thank you very, very much. I'll watch the replay and get all that back. So.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah.
Of
course.
All right. Take care.
Kristen Allen Farmer, I just unmuted you. What's up? Are you there? There we go.
Who was that?
Hi there.
John, was that?
Hi there.
Hi.
Oh. So drum racks, how do you organize your drums? Like what if you have a track and you say you have like, you know, X amount of kicks and X amount of hi-hats and X amount of snares, and you just want to quickly flip through them all to figure out what's the best snare with this track, what's the best hi-hat with this track. What's your way of organizing drums?
Well, for me anyways, I'm not like a whiz when it comes to like, I don't really do a ton of sampling and I don't really use samplers. So when I'm dialing in drums, I'm literally half the time I'm just scanning through manually. Pro Tools has a place called the Workspace. That's actually pretty cool for that. You can literally just go through, you open it up and you can scan through. I have a ton of stuff in different sample libraries. So a lot of times if I'm looking for a certain type of drum, I'm literally just scanning through different libraries and looking for stuff. Same thing with Splice. Splice is great for that. You can go hunting for like any type of drum that you want. So I'll do that. And then if I want to like, you know, if I want to set up pads for that, I'll just do it. I'll create a kit. But most of the time I'm literally just creating grooves, just dragging stuff in, moving it around, copying and pasting. I probably could do a little bit. I'd probably be a lot faster if I really got into like more of the aspect of like using samplers and things like that. But what I do, it's more manual. And then also just like I'll have like sometimes real drummers just play stuff if I want. So yeah, but like for me, the short answer for me is I just like scan through libraries. Splice has a cool way where you can literally just listen to samples. You can just literally hit the space bar and play stuff. You can cycle through them. Like you can basically like preview, you know, 100 kicks, 100 snares, like different, you can search for different stuff. If you're good at searching on Google, you'll be good at searching for different types of stuff on Splice. And that's just one of like literally hundreds of libraries that you could potentially use. I use a lot of stuff from That Sound, is one of my favorite drum libraries. So I got a bunch of their stuff. I'll sometimes go in and look for stuff there. And then I've just like got a folder. One thing that I do as I go along is if there's something that I really like the sound of, especially if it's like something where I like the end product of it, I'll sometimes just like print the drum and I'll just like make my own samples too, make my own like library of stuff that I like the sound of. So that's part of the fun of being a producer is you get to build your own libraries too over time and build your own collection of stuff that you think sounds cool. And yeah, just trust your ears. Yep. All right. So who is next? Oh, sorry. There we go. Anthony Juarez.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, good, man. How are you?
Good. So would you ever know is there any way to know ahead of time, like what the main theme of a certain project would be, so you could like tailor your music towards that type of project? Or is there any way to know ahead of time or anything like that? Or
It's well, it's like if there was one theme that was used constantly, I think that's probably what everybody would make all the time. Unfortunately, it's like sometimes they need something about this, sometimes they need something about that. That's why we put together a list of like 25 different like main themes, and there's probably like I mean I know from my own personal document that there's like probably 50 different themes you could write stuff about. It's just a matter of like, as long as your stuff is in the ballpark, and then you want to take into account to the genre of music that you're making, because some genres of music are really good for certain types of themes. Like stuff that's more like modern Americana singer-songwriter, for example, like a home song would probably work really well for that genre versus like a straight up pop song, probably, or like urban dark pop or something like that. It's probably not gonna be as good of a genre for home music. So I've seen that happen in the past where like somebody will try to be, it's almost like it's good to be creative, but sometimes you can almost be a little too creative with things. Sometimes it's like you gotta kind of be creative in like but also take into account the grand picture of things. So just picking a good theme and then making sure it's something that kind of vibes with the genre. Or if it doesn't, and you really have like a cool, unique take that really satisfies the emotional component of it, then, I'd say like give it a go, but give it a try. But,
okay, because I've just been listening to like some commercials and things like that, and it seems like some songs just like fit in with everything the commercial's doing or something like that. Like they knew ahead of time how to sort of put that all in.
Well, you got to keep in mind that when a song is selected for a commercial, they're literally editing the picture to the song. So those beats of the way that it's edited, that is going to change depending on which song they use. So to a certain extent, every song that gets used in a commercial is going to feel like it fits like a glove, but it maybe didn't when they first dropped the song in. So they probably had to change some of the edit points and things like that. That's just one thing that'll hopefully like not discourage you too much in terms of like, oh, it needs to be exactly like this, because the picture is, sometimes they build a picture or a commercial completely around a song, but more often than not, they'll get an idea going and then they're just like looking for a good musical direction. So
okay, all right. So you're saying if they say they don't take unsolicited material, aren't most places going to be like that?
Well, not in my experience. So yeah, not in my experience.
Oh, really?
I would say like more of the bigger agencies are all going to say that. But like I said, it shouldn't discourage you from if your stuff is really the reason why they don't take unsolicited submissions. There's a couple reasons. One is a legal reason.
Right.
One is a legal reason, and they want to make sure they've had a certain amount of success where they don't want to jeopardize what they have by like entertaining just everything that comes across them, where they don't have any context, they don't know anything about the artist, they don't know if you're using samples that haven't been cleared. There's no trust. So there's that aspect to it. The other aspect is just like the level of music that they work on and the level of projects that they work on is really, like in some cases, it's like the best of the best that's out there. So if your stuff is really up on that level with the best, then you should be like hitting up people and getting like figuring out ways, like I was talking about earlier, to get your foot in the door with some listen from inside the company. And you may get an answer that you like, you may get an answer you don't like. You may say, "Oh, this is cool, but we have too much of it." There's like 20 different answers you could get even if you got their attention, but it's not like I'm the last person who's going to discourage anybody from like giving it a try, but I think there's also like certain tactics you can take that can seem kind of rude, and like we don't want to like sour a potential relationship you might have with somebody down the line by being like, like just not honoring. It's like, in a way, it's like boundaries for them, like professionally. So you just got to remember any time that you're like just kind of ignoring that and trying to proceed, that it could be seen as like crossing a boundary. and they may not like it. They may think it seems kind of rude, especially if your stuff isn't up to the level that they really tend to work with. So I think that's a question that anybody who wants to potentially reach out to like a Zinc or like Secret Road or things like that, they got to take that into account. Your stuff might get heard too, and then they just might not respond because they just don't dig it for whatever reason, or they have too much of it, or they're just too busy. So yeah, it's like, I think the better overall approach is to get your foot in the door some other way, and there's a myriad different ways to go about that.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man.
Oh, you're welcome. I see you there, Dave. It says Dave's iPhone. I'm going to unmute you. Are you there?
Yeah.
How's it going?
Here. Good. Hey, I wanted to follow up on something another gal had asked about or mentioned about submitting songs for the for you guys to review later. Delana did put a link to a list for that.
Oh, cool. So it's already been done?
Yeah. So yeah. So
okay, great. If I didn't see that this morning, I was like literally just coughing in bed.
Yeah, so the list is there for whoever still needs to add one in there.
Yeah, well, if that's for today's call, then just go and find it on the wall and drop your link in there, and I'll pull open that. I know exactly where it would be, so I'll pull it open and we'll be listening to songs off of there.
Perfect. And then on that same note, how often do you think throughout this course we'll be able to get a song reviewed, or will just one per person, or will we have more opportunities?
Oh, well, I mean, there's no restriction. I mean, we're going to have these listening sessions, so there's going to be potentially opportunity for people to get heard on
more than one song.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think over the course of if you're talking about over the course of like 6 months, I think that the people who actually do the work, not everybody's going to do the work. Not everybody's going to want to share what they're doing. So you got to keep in mind, yeah, there might be a fair number of people in the course, but not everybody's going to constantly be pushing material out and asking for feedback too. So
perfect. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's all I had for now. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I see you there, Johanna. Are you able to talk now?
Working? Is this working?
Hey, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Yes. All right. So cool. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Can you see me?
Yep, sure can.
Okay, cool. Okay, I excuse myself in advance because maybe you've already answered this question in some of the other calls, but I've watched most of them on replay, and I don't think that it's been answered entirely.
Okay.
So I'm having a really difficult time marketing myself as a musician or an artist or a songwriter, because I write in so many different styles. And I know for this class in particular, we've been, kind of pushed or urged to focus on one particular style that makes sense. But I went to your website to see how you structured yourself, because I can see as well. I guess the idea is maybe to create little groups if you have like a different thing going on. Is that kind of an idea to circumvent like confusion that maybe a music supervisor might have?
For sure. And you also don't need to present all the music that you have to every single person you reach out to. That's another thing that's important to note. Okay. It might be more beneficial for you to send an EP of like Black Keys kind of sound and stuff that you put together to one supervisor versus like another supervisor. You might want to send like the upbeat kind of poppy stuff. Like I'm just talking like, for example, like a couple of the flavors of stuff that I have on my website. You'll notice if you do go to my website, it's got like a couple of different project names that, they're literally like branded around like a specific type of music. I really relate to what you're talking about in terms of like not really having a label. I still don't know what I'm the best at. So I always trying to work on new things, and that's good, but it is a challenge from a marketing perspective, because it's like one of those things where you want to be known for doing something really well. And it's hard to be known for doing like a lot of things well, because in any genre, there's going to be people who are crushing it. And for you to be considered in that ballpark in like 4 different genres, it's like that's going to be tough. So it's like I think the smart move is to pick one direction that is something you can get into. It doesn't have to be your permanent long-term direction, but pick one direction that you can run in for a little while and because like the moment that I did that, it really changed things for me.
Okay.
Now I have like those projects where I still put some time into the Wonder Strike stuff. I'm working on a Wonder Strikes track right now, and I may be going back to the person that I worked with on those tracks and doing a couple more as well. But it's like, that's not really what I do all the time. I'm working right now. I'm literally working on a pitch package for stuff, and it's got like, it probably covers like 4 or 5 genres. It's like tons of different types of music, and it's super fun. But it's like, but that's like a pitch package for a specific TV show where they're looking for a variety of music. So there are going to be times in the future where you might find that your ability to not only in my case, I'm not producing all the things, but I'm working on top lines. And I'm also like doing a ton of executive producing on it as well. There's going to be times where your skill set in different genres is really going to help. And, but that's not every project. And I think it's like I said, it's a marketing, you'll have with marketing yourself if you have an EP that has 4 different kinds of songs on it. Because here's another thing to consider. The person you send to, if you have 4 different genres on your EP, that track order is going to be really important depending on who you send it to. Because the person you send it to, they might hate like 2 of the genres that you work in. And then like your first 2 songs on that EP might be songs that they don't like. They're not even going to get to the other 2 songs. Cause you know what I mean? It's like, it's
sure. Yeah.
Kind of like it's a little bit, I think your odds are better. The odds are going to be more in your favor if you pick a direction that you're good at and give it a shot, throw all the chips in.
Yeah. I get it for this course and for the initial pitching and all that stuff and getting your name out there, but I'm in the middle of making a website, and I also do digital marketing. So I also understand the metadata and all this stuff is really important. I'm not the metadata of the songs, but of the actual website. It's kind of tricky to do that to begin with, but I'm thinking, okay, how do I best display myself online on the internet? Because you will run into people. Are you familiar with Midem, the show in France? Midem is like, it's a huge music festival conference, and lots of people from US are going there, and you've got a lot of music supervisors and so on and so forth. And it's a place that I've worked for many, many years. But I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go down there, and oftentimes you exchange, cards and stuff, and you think, well, maybe I might have someone that's going to want to take a look at the website, and instead of me sending them an email or getting an EP. So it's kind of also important, like, how do you present yourself online, Sure. But anyway, I listen to what you're saying, makes perfect sense. But just to segue into a second question, which is kind of like related to the first one, because there's different styles, and it's not even about styles. It's just, this is my personal reflection on a lot of things, is when I tend to write songs that I can sing, because I think I can sing them fine. But my voice just doesn't have the style that I hear that song. I just imagine someone else singing that song. And it's like, at what point can you actually take a step back and say, I'm just not the right one to sing the song? There might be other people who say, Joe, you got to do that song. That's totally for you. That's your song. And it's like, but you know what? I just don't think it's for me,
Such a good talking point. And I get kind of like the question that comes around this is like, is that like kind of accurate thinking? And it's like, I can't tell you like how things changed for me once I realized I don't have to do everything myself. Also, it's really, at the end of the day, should be all about the song. It should be all about making the song the best it can be. So if that's the case, who's to say that you're the best singer? I mean, I'm a good singer and I don't sing on a lot of stuff. Just like, but I don't take it personally anymore either. Like I used to think, I could do this, right? Sometimes I'll still like kind of push myself and see, maybe I can do this. But fortunately I have people that if it's not working out, they'll tell me, it's okay.
So people will be honest. So if you hire a producer, for example, and the producer might have an in, and you cut like kind of a deal, you're upfront from the beginning. I mean, is it their job as well to say, listen, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I think we have a better shot getting another singer? Or is it too delicate because you're paying them, so they don't want to like hurt your feelings? You know?
Yeah, I think it can go both ways. Like I've definitely had situations where people have come to me and they've been insistent upon singing something, and when it's like a little out of their like, and they want it in this certain key. For this is just one situation out of like hundreds and hundreds of situations that I've just different production situations. But like I had one situation where someone came to me and they had a song and it was written in a specific key, and they were really like adamant about it needs to be in this key and I'm going to sing it. And it's just like, we got into the vocal booth and it was obviously like out of their range. And it was like to the point where they were really pushing it. And then also just the type of voice, it just wasn't the right kind of voice for the genre of music. So with these situations, sometimes like for me, I try to be just as honest as I can be. I won't say, hey, look, you're not the person to sing this. I'll be like, I think honestly what I talk about is like, I think you're having a really hard time hitting the pitches. And I think that maybe this song would be better for your voice if it was in a lower key, or, maybe we could bring in another singer that could more like capture in the genre. But I'm not like every single producer that's out there. Some producers may not be like, so they might not. I'm not saying all producers are like this. Some are, where they're just like, this is a job and I'm going to, what's the order? The order is, let me read the order. It's a, Big Mac with like large fries.
Right.
This is been paid for me to produce, and I'm not going to personally invest myself in seeing that, you know what I mean? They don't, some producers don't really see it that way. And sometimes also too, it's just like, the challenge for me sometimes is like, what is the way that I can best put this person up for success? Like, how can I set them up? If they really want to sing this song, what can I do to make the track like more friendly for their voice? I'm playing around with that sometimes as well. But there's a conversation that can be had. But I think at the end of the day, it's really going to be smart for you to think of what type of vocalist do I want for this project. And the thing you should know is that there are so many just grossly talented singers out there that you can hire at a reasonable rate to come in and top line your song, and it may blow you away how good it is. It's like and I do this all the time too. So like I'll hire singers all the time for stuff. And it's just, it's fun. It's like part of like, I love connecting talent to projects, and that's part of being a producer too, is like getting the right talent involved in it. But to think about like the vocal, because the vocal is really like 90% of a song. Any song that has vocal, it is so critical that the vocal be good. It's just like that's the truth to me. If the vocal isn't cutting it, it doesn't matter how cool the track is. Unless somebody really wants for the instrument.
Absolutely. I just wish that I would have people that would be really honest and say, because it's not about the how do you say, the quality of the voice, because just, some voices are just not, it's just not the right fit. It's not the right timbre. It's not the right tone. It's not that they can't sing the notes. It's just not the right thing,
It could be that. It also goes back to sometimes the conviction with things too. Like I've had singers where they can just like belt stuff out and really intensely emotional, but when it comes to stuff that's like really like present and exposed, they kind of hold back in a way because it's like so intimate. It's interesting. Like different singers have different gifts, and I think at the end of the day, it's just a creative challenge with all this, and it's stuff we'll keep going into all this, but I think it's like a really good thing to just note is like, there's really no point in having a huge ego about all this, in terms of like whether you're singing it or somebody else is singing it. I would invite anybody who has questions about like, I think even if you're confident about what you're doing, it doesn't hurt to like consider all the possibilities when it comes to this stuff, because you want it to be as good as it can be.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. Great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, we got about 10 more minutes here. Hey, I see you there, Christian. I just, I think I unmuted you. Let me see. No? Shoot. There's like kind of a lag with this where between muting and it actually. Let's see if that works.
Yeah, can you hear me now, John?
I can, man.
Yeah, I've got Bluetooth. I'm on the way to work. It's 6:28 a.m. in Australia.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little quiet, but yeah, be careful, man.
Yeah, no, all good.
All right.
Great work. I guess you talked about the edit points. When you talk about edit points, are you talking specifically about gaps in between the songs, or are you just talking about something that's clear that at the 15-second mark it switches or something?
Yeah, a lot of times it's literally like full track stops, or just like if it's a track that has like rhythmic stuff, but it's not too busy. You can sometimes get away with just, there's going to be pauses enough. Like, for example, there's a couple different things. So there's full track stops, which is one thing. The other is just making sure that your song isn't like so full and has like kind of like a wall kind of feel to it. What can happen sometimes, I've heard this so many times I can't even count it, is where like a track will get going and then it just never stops. It just kind of keeps going, and then there's like synth stuff that's in the background that like make it just makes it really hard for somebody who's like editing a commercial to find like a place where it's quiet enough where they can do it quick enough, like fade on it that it sounds natural. It's just like you want your stuff. I think one thing, if you do some track stops every once in a while, but also just making sure that there's like some dynamics with your track. If there's like a cool drum groove that's going on, it's not like full on assault like the whole time. It's like there's a pocket to it. It's like boom, boom, boom. And then they can do like an edit on the boom and then cut out there or something like that. It's just like places where they can find a place in the groove that they can make a quick edit. So does that help?
Okay. Yeah, no, it does. And look, the second question I've got is in terms of royalty-free loops. Let's say, for example, when you talked about the Americana coming home, I've written one like that. Obviously, the basis of it is the guitar, the top line, the lyrics and everything. If we're using like a drum track in the back, like a loop, and say, I don't know, a violin somewhere, is that considered still like one stop? We're not like, if I don't know, 20% of the track has loops, that's not an issue if it's royalty free.
You got to be a little careful about he's a little hard to pick out some of that, but I think I got the gist of it. It can be difficult if you're talking about just dragging a loop in from like Splice or something else, and then just playing over it, having it be kind of going on in the background. You do have to be a little bit careful about that, because if it's like not treated at all, and it's the loop has like it's not like something that you would. It has like some signatures that are easily identifiable. You may want to do some things, and I'll do this as a producer where I'm like, just kind of tweaking things a little bit, add a little drum here or there, just give it a little different flavor. Maybe I'll like filter it. Usually with acoustic guitars, you'll do if it's like I'm talking about. There'll be like filtering that's going on with the drums while they're in the background, in kind of way. Okay, you just don't want them to be. You don't want it to be the exact same loop, especially not in any place where the song is just the loop going on, because then you might fall into a little bit of trouble. It's the reason why you wouldn't see somebody like grabbing a loop off of Splice and then, in a way, it's almost like releasing it as if it was your own composition, which it's not. So you have to recontextualize things a little bit, I think. But it's easy to do, and nobody's really. There's been a lot of like people afraid and saying don't use Splice, blah blah blah. It's like nobody's really gonna know you used a loop from Splice unless it's like something that's like really obvious, where you just like copy and paste the loop and it's just like your song, or it's just like you have the loop and it's like one other thing and it's the song. Like nobody's gonna come after you for that. I'm no lawyer, but I'm pretty damn sure that nobody's gonna come after you for something like that.
I was more looking at the garage band loops or it was more those that I double checked when I did an EP, and it's obviously I actually put it in the CD cover that it was royalty free rather than Apple loops.
I mean, anything that's in GarageBand, I would imagine, is royalty free. But I think the thing you're going to run into with GarageBand is like just making sure you get the quality of your your samples and just your production in general to be pretty high. And so like maybe some of the samples that are included in GarageBand wouldn't really hit that mark, but who knows, maybe I've had like sessions where people will like pull in stuff from like the stock Logic libraries and things like that, and we'll play around with them and they sound really cool. So yeah, I think it's just another tool to use, man. I think as long as you recontextualize it, then you'll
Cool. Thanks, John.
You're welcome, man. Drive safe.
I'll play some didgeridoo for you.
My favorite. That joke. Oh my. Hey KB, I see you there. I just unmuted you.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. Hey everybody. This goes back a little bit to what we were talking about before in terms of boundaries and various ways to approach being creative, kind of trying to get out of the box, etc. I saw this BMW commercial today and was totally into it. Started scrolling through the comments to find out what the song was, only to discover that somebody had taken a song and put it on this commercial and then uploaded it. So there was a bunch of comments that was like, this isn't the real song. It's way better than the original song that went with this commercial. So I started thinking, that's interesting. What if I were to start finding commercials that I like and that I think would match cool with my music? And what if I put my music on top of that? Would there be an appropriate way to showcase that? Would there be an appropriate approach to, the supervisors of the ad agencies, in sort of adding value, Kathy talks about? Would it add value potentially to say, here's the way in which I think my stuff might match with the stuff that you're doing? Or is that a step too far? Your comments, please.
Well, I mean, I think it's an interesting exercise to see, because I've seen people do this where they'll take, a commercial and cut their music to it. I think it's interesting. The thing, like I was saying earlier, that you don't get the context of with that is that part of the editing of the commercial is built around the song itself.
Sure.
So, the beats of the song are going to be different for your song. So, I mean, sure, I think that like it could be, I think it's an interesting exercise to see if your music seems like it could fit to the picture, but I think that also people can kind of be like, you could literally put any song to a commercial and like, see, it's like, that's me.
Right.
Because, and you have a little bit of bias with it, but you don't understand there's like a decision-making process that happened with all that. I'm not sure like aside from like, there might be even like some like copyright issues with like, like presenting it to them. It's like you've kind of recontextualized their stuff without their permission, even not really, but it's like, I don't know. I probably going to be better. I think making the kinds of music that they can use on their new campaigns would be better than really recontextualizing old decisions that they made. That would just be me. That's my
Cool. Thank you.
Cool exercise. I've seen a ton of people do it, and I think it's like it could be something cool to see if your music kind of fits in a certain style of. One thing now that you mention it might be interesting is like if you really want to focus on like high impact like car commercials and stuff like the Monday Music Breakdown that I did last week. The style of car commercial that happens with that, you could like take a bunch of those types of car commercials and then just see if the songs that you're creating for the EP, this is just theoretical, like you could like take like a bunch of those types of commercials and see, does this song work for this? Does it work for that? And if it works for a bunch of different, then you're probably on the right track. I don't know. It's just a thought. You could probably use that as like, as like, just kind of as you're going along, making sure that you're on target for like the types of commercials you're trying to get a foot in the door with.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And there's, like I've said, I don't know if I said this before, but there's different buckets of types of commercials. You have like kid commercials for like foods and like different products and snacks and things like that are friendly to moms and tend to have like a bunch of organic elements in them. You could literally take a bunch of those kinds of commercials, and then like if you're making music that kind of targets that, you can use that as like a that's like, yeah, you could do that with a few different types of commercials. Fast food commercials, It just depends. You could probably do that with a bunch of different verticals.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. I don't know if like the whirly in my name gave it away, but I sort of am targeting and focusing on kids and family music for the last 5 years. That's been the music I've been making. You know, I like to say it's pretty highbrow for kids music, as it were, but I have songs like Portobello Mushrooms, and I have, you know, songs about math. And so I'm sitting here sort of trying to think about, you know, like different placements for healthy eating, as you mentioned, and things like that. But anyway, I will definitely post this BMW commercial to the Facebook page so everybody can check it out.
Great, man. Yeah. I like the thinking outside of the box with this. This is like, it stirs on like different types of conversations around all like what's a good way to go about making sure what you're doing is on target. This is all part of the research. I think it's great work you're doing, man.
Sweet. Killer hat.
Oh, thanks. I like it. This is my most recent addition to my hat collection.
Nice.
All right, man.
Do well.
Thanks, man. I got time for one more, and then we'll wrap for today. Carolyn, I see you there. Carolyn Broussard.
Hey, honey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm all right. How you?
Doing all right. I just have a quick question. Are we at some point going to get like a full syllabus of like kind of the arc of like the class? Just because it helps me to have like an idea of like what I'm working towards and where I'm going, like over the course of time, rather than just be like, okay, so we're working on this now, and I'm going to work on this. I like to see like where I'm going.
Sure. And I know that there's folks like you, and there's probably a lot of them in the class. So, you know, and I think what you're asking for is something we're going to be providing very soon. It's just, yeah, it's somewhere we're going to be sharing it with people. But the general overall lay of things is the first couple of months we're not focused on like actually, you know, the focus is not primarily on creating your songs that are going to be, we're going to be teaching you how to go about like picking a target and then really like writing the types of songs that are going to fit for that. And then like the last few months are going to be, the main focus is going to be on getting your EP together and really supporting you as you're doing that on the aspects of like we were talking about earlier, the songwriting, the production, the mixing, the mastering, the branding, packaging, and all that stuff. That's like a general overlay of things, but we are going to be posting a syllabus very soon.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going on tour soon, so it's helpful.
We actually talked about it in the meeting, staff meeting the other day. So
sweet. Awesome. Thank you.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Thank you. All right. That one was quick. So I'm going to take one more. Wishnu, I see you there. You there? Wishnu.
Yes.
Hi.
I am. Hi. I'm sorry if I go back again to the STEM question. Okay. I've been producing. Well, I've been recording my own songs with the thoughts that to be all one stops, and I don't have any producer. So I just recorded. I hired a musician. I recorded in a studio, and I sent it to different people, like different engineer for mixing as well as for mastering.
Okay.
So when you mentioned about the STEM, it has to be mastered. Is that what you said earlier? That the STEM
it's not going to be terribly useful to the supervisor if it's, or well, more importantly, the person who's actually going to the production house or trailer house or anything like that if it's not, because they're not going to have your mastering chain. It's not going to sound the same. So typically, what they're looking for when they're going to use stems is they'll combine a couple things. Maybe they're like, oh, I like the drums and the bass, but I don't want. That's all I want. So what they'll do is they'll take this. Take the drum stem and the bass stem, they'll mix them together and mix them to taste. But that they have like the relative same amount of impact because they were run through the mastering stuff.
So that means when I send it for mastering, I have to send because right now what happened is I have from the mixing engineer, I got a WAV file of the mixing, the mix version of the song. and then I sent it to the mastering engineer. The mastering engineer gave me only WAV file of the one with the vocal and the one without the vocal. That's all I have, because I sent him 2 different versions of mixing.
Okay.
But that means because right now I have 10 songs that are being mixed already, and I haven't really talked about requesting stems mix to send to the mastering. Is that how it works? I'm so sorry, because I'm new to all of this.
It's okay. Just you don't. By the way, you don't necessarily need to print stems for every song either. Like some songs, you don't need. If you already have like more or less produced the thing, and you don't have to like. Just because people are making stems doesn't mean I would say that like 90% of the time when you print stems, they never get used. That's just like a fact. So it's like,
yeah, and for me is really super because in here I don't have anybody doing it that way.
I just don't think it's a requirement. That most of the time they'll if they want it, they usually just use an instrumental version of the track. It's only in very specific cases where they want the but
okay.
You request them, and if you can't give them, then it just makes it where they're not going to be able to use your song. But you know, at the end of the day, how many percentage of the time is that it's going to be an investment in resources for sure? If you're producer / mixer / a lot of people it's like they produce, they mix, and they master.
Yeah, that's the problem. I go to 3 different people, and yeah.
Somebody who's like the mix person would be in your case would be the person that would be closest to like getting you what you want. So I would suggest if you really want stems, you should just have your mixer print them without the mastering chain, and then at least you'll have those, and you know they should be able to use them. It's not going to be quite as. And the thing you got to remember with this too, if you have the mastering chain on there, that's fine. If you don't have the mastering chain on there, it might be okay too, because the broadcast, when they're putting stuff into a broadcast, there's a mastering process that happens with the audio as well. So fine. So I would suggest if you can't get the mastered stems, you should just get the mixed stems. That's going to be the best.
Okay.
Because then you're not going to be spending a ton of money like going and having each one of these like stems mastered. Doesn't seem like that would make sense. But yeah. Maybe for me, a lot of the times it's like, you know, the person I'm working with, or if I'm doing it, a lot of times I might be the person who's also mixing and mastering kind of in the box. And if that's the case, then it's really easy for me.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
So it's like, but that's not everybody. So I think in your case, you just get mixed stems instead of mastered stems.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Provide those to you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So let's see if we can, I just see one more hand raised. Hey, Steven, are you there? You still got a question? Steven? Going to give you to the count of 3, and then I'm going to end the call. But 1, you there? 2. All right. Next time. So we got through all the questions, which is great. So yeah, I'm going to end the call for now. Thank you for all your awesome questions. If you didn't get a chance to ask your question, maybe you were in a place where you just couldn't do it. That's fine. We're going to be doing this every week. As you can see, there's tons of opportunity for people to ask questions about like pretty much anything. And that's the whole point of office hours. So please come back next week with all your questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. And I'll see you here in about 20 minutes for the listening session, which I'm looking forward to. All right. Catch you later.